But I mastered that style. It's like the 5 deadly venoms. So all he had to do was get next to a nigga like that, he could destroy him.
Believe in that, for real. We plan to take the same strategy we use with Death Row West, mind over matter, taking all our weaknesses and making it into our strength. That all these people talk about an East Coast, West Coast war, they like the Judas was to Jesus. They only here to cause confusion. We here to bring money and to bring change. They here to cause confusion. All these weak rappers, Nas, all these suckers, they battling off of East and West like this is a game. This ain't no game. If this was chess, we'd be yelling checkmate 3 years ago, because we've been beat these. It's not a game.
These two guys here with with Pacquiao and Mayweather, they are an anomaly. They are different. They are quite different. And because of the significance of the fight and what a win would mean, that would bring out the best. I don't care if they're 50 years old. Will bring out the best fighter in either one.
What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, the only way for me to come back is as Egoveli. Let's get it in. You guys summon Egoveli, and I gotta talk about this. This is gonna be a good one. Buckle up. A lot of haters, a lot of people are gonna be mad at this, but you know, I give you that real side. Show you what it's supposed to be like. Now, I gotta talk about this. Now, I was gonna make this video regardless, but now I just seen an interview with Fight Hype, link in the description, where Abner Mares was a spokesperson for boxing, you know what I mean, a fighter, and he said the same thing. And now I was like, man, I gotta make this video now. And it's regarding the constant comparison to like Mayweather and Pacquiao for fights like Canelo, Triple G, and what fighters are doing, guys like Golovkin, Brook, and fights like that. And people are using Floyd Mayweather as a catalyst for what's going on in boxing. And I find it very ironic, right? You can say whatever you want, like the new media motto goes. You could dislike, but you can't disprove. And it's funny to me, like I told you, it's new media season. The fans are getting smarter. People want the truth, and people aren't just falling for the okie doke anymore. I expected, like back in the day before Mayweather and Pacquiao fought, boxing was crazy. You look at comment section, people defending all types of weird stuff. But I looked on this Fight Hype interview with Abner Mares blaming Mayweather for Canelo not fighting Triple G, and he's getting torched in the comment section. At the time of this video, it was like a half and half video in terms of the likes and dislikes. A lot of people disliking it because, again, and I'm going to explore in this video, you can't blame another man. The bottom line is Floyd Mayweather, whether you loved him or hate him, you watched him. And what I think people are doing is their interpretation of what they think he was doing or what they think he did for boxing. And now greedy promoters, fighters, or whoever are using that and trying to blame Floyd. You hear Abner Mares in this interview saying Canelo's not fighting Triple G because of Floyd Mayweather, and I'm going to debunk that and kind of give some examples and stuff like that. But the bottom line is Floyd Mayweather is a person who brought spotlight to boxing. Whether you like him, whether you hate him, you can't deny that. In fact, we're embarking on a quote-unquote Mexican dates this weekend, and people aren't even happy with the fight. You gotta let me say that again. Canelo's fighting Liam Smith this weekend. Now, the people in Texas, I heard they sold like 40,000 tickets. That's good, strong numbers. Canelo, we know, is a star. He's a celebrity. But the boxing world, right? The people who don't live in Texas, who can't go to a live fight, a lot of people aren't ecstatic. And it's just, I find it ironic. You've seen people like Canelo who said, hey, I'm of Mexican heritage. This is my heritage. I want to reclaim these dates, right? We want to take it from Floyd Mayweather. You had the opportunity to do that in the ring, and you came up short because he beat you, and he beat you in a dominant fashion unless you were CJ Ross, right? So you came up short. Now you have the opportunity to again reclaim it, because not because you beat him, but because he retired and he's out the door. He's promoting fighters and signing fighters and stuff like that. Now Canelo has all this power because Pacquiao, his fights aren't really doing the same numbers they used to. Cotto fights like one time a year and he beat Cotto. You know what I mean? So Canelo has all this pull, all this clout. He reclaimed the Mexican days by default because Floyd is no longer in the sport. And now you got to look at it. Who put on bigger fights? When Floyd Mayweather, whether it was Mayweather Maidana, and then you look at the undercard, you see Rocky Martinez or Orlando Salido, another Mexican warrior, or even Floyd versus Guerrero. Look at the undercard, Abner Mares moving up, facing Daniel Ponce de Leon on the undercard. You look at the other one, the Maidana 1, Amir Khan fighting Luis Collazo, first fight at welterweight, Adrian Broner fighting Carlos Molina. They were more spectacles. They were bigger fights. Now Canelo has the dates he says he wanted, and instead of fighting Golovkin, you gave up your belt. And who are you fighting? Liam Smith. Out of all the crop of 154 pounders, right? You fight the least known, especially in the States, which is Liam Smith, least known champion. So it's just ironic that Canelo begged for these dates back, got his wish, and your events aren't even as big as when Floyd was fighting Marcos Maidana. When he was fighting, I mean, I don't know. Based on the backlash, I don't even know if this will do what Andre Berto and Floyd did. You know what I mean? Floyd versus Robert Guerrero. I don't know that. I don't know that it would do the same pay-per-view numbers. I've seen a lot of people who are outraged. But back to the topic of this video, which is blaming Floyd. It's all too convenient to blame Floyd. But first of all, one reason why I disagree wholeheartedly with Abdamatis and what he said is you can't blame another man. You're a grown-ass man. Canelo is 26. Him fighting Golovkin has nothing to do with a next man's decision. Plus, we know that's bullshit about the Mayweather versus Pacquiao. In fact, here is a clip of Freddie Roach taking the full ownership for his side, the Pacquiao side, not having that fight.
Pacquiao is the man that Mayweather didn't fight rather than Pacquiao didn't get the Mayweather.
I don't think it'll come across that way. I think people will say, why didn't they fight each other? And blame both guys, to be honest with you, because the first negotiation we were against the blood test, and it was kind of our fault. Because the first negotiation we were against the blood test, and it was kind of our fault. Because the first negotiation we were against the blood test, and it was kind of our fault.
Now, you guys seen the clip. Shout out to my dude Dante's Boxing Nation. He was there at the Freddie Roach roundtable. He says the failed negotiations the first time, you'd have to blame us. It was our fault. We didn't want a drug test. That's the original reason why the fight fell apart. So everything that happened years later for the next ongoing years, that was after. This is why the fight fell apart the first time. Everything else, they didn't have a problem with the pay-per-view proceeds or the purse split. It was over drug testing, which Freddie Roach, who's part of Team Pacquiao, longtime trainer, fighter duo, he admits they did not want a drug test. You can do any kind of Google research to confirm that. That is why that fight didn't happen. So for that alone, that's what Abdamatis said. It makes it null and void, right? But people have this notion that Floyd was the culprit. He was the mastermind and why that fight didn't happen. Beyond that, I think both parties played a factor in the fight not happening. But the first reason it didn't happen when it was supposed to happen is because Team Pacquiao, Manny Pacquiao, did not want a drug test. They said things like, we'll let the commission do their job. Floyd's not the commission. Why should we do this? He's not our boss. Things of that sort, right? So you can't blame him for that reason solely. Next, you have to look at Canelo versus Golovkin. Different dynamics with both fighters. Golovkin, most people think his resume needs work. He himself said his next fight with the welterweight, which was Kell Brook, which just happened last weekend, was his toughest test. His resume needs help at age 34. You look at 34-year-old Floyd Mayweather, he was damn near fighting Cotto or somebody, because when he was 36, he fought Canelo, who was 13 years younger than him. So you have to take it back maybe a year or two. He was probably fighting Cotto or Hatton or Juan Manuel Marquez, somebody like that. Golovkin at 34 doesn't have the same resume. Big difference. Canelo doesn't even have the big resume like Mayweather or Pacquiao. So to compare to that fight is asinine. Pacquiao and Mayweather both had way more established resumes and way more dominant performance over the big names they had beat by the time that they were in talks to fight. They had already done that. So Canelo Triple G, it's not going to be Mayweather-Pacquiao. It's not going to be that big. Do fans want to see it? Absolutely. Do I want to see it? Absolutely. Still not going to be as big. You also have to look at the market. The market was different. There wasn't a bunch of streaming and things of that sort as much as there is today, right? Canelo and Triple G, you look at it. Canelo, unless he's linked to another big name like Cotto, like Mayweather, he has not ever done a million plus. He's done it only with Cotto and only with Mayweather, right? his other fights like Lada and Angulo and stuff like that, and I'm assuming this Liam Smith, we'll see when the numbers come back, I don't think they'll do over 1 million. Even the Cotto didn't even do over 1 million. It was close, but it didn't do over 1 million. So realistically, Canelo, his A-sideness is from Mayweather, fighting Mayweather. That's the only time he's really been over 1 million, right? And we know for a fact Golovkin ain't never been anywhere close on pay-per-view to fighting and generating 1 million views. And he only had one opportunity at it, and it was against David Lemieux, who was a champion at the time, a new champion, and it didn't even come close to doing 1 million. It did like 96,000 to 150. So you can't compare that to Mayweather and Pacquiao, who had both done over 1 million views before they were even linked to fight each other. You know what I mean? Pacquiao De La Hoya. You look at Mayweather De La Hoya, Mayweather versus Cotto. You look at all those fights, those were 1 million plus buys. You know what I mean? Pacquiao Margarito, Pacquiao Cotto. They were already doing numbers independently. So to compare the Canelo Triple G situation, again, is asinine. But beyond just the comparison of why the two fights are different, I don't even have to spend too much time talking about that. Bottom line, Mayweather and Pacquiao were pound for pound rated top 5 guys, top 3 guys. One person was considered pound for pound number 1, and then you could argue that the other person is pound for pound number 1. It was that close. They were at least the pound for pound number 1 and 2. You know what I mean? In most people, most respected list. Canelo and Triple G aren't that. You know what I mean? Some people may tell you that, but they aren't that based on what they've accomplished. So that comparison to me is already stupid. Now, beyond that, Egoveli style, new media style, you got to look at it. Even if what they say is true, which I know it to not be the case, is why would you do what the next man did if you didn't condone it, right? And this is here's a quick example of how they try to deflect and distract you. I see people in the comment section, and it's a shame when you get fighters and trainers like Abnormatis or whoever that start, it's like they're reading comment sections and then there's no rhetoric behind what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, you can't back it up. For example, when Floyd beat Shane Mosley after he got rocked really bad in the second round, went on to dominate Mosley, what did people say? Oh, Floyd, he just beat up an old washed up Mosley. But if you know your boxing, you know that doesn't even make sense when you analyze it, because Mosley was rated the #1 welterweight in the world because he destroyed Margarito, a guy he was supposed to lose to. In fact, here's a clip of that fight, and you can hear the praise. If Mosley, when Mosley had Margarito badly hurt and he was on the verge of knocking him out, they said if Mosley pulls the trigger and gets him out of here, he will undoubtedly basically be the #1 welterweight. Here, listen.
Shane Mosley at age 37 is trying to become the #1 welterweight in the world. And that's the way he'd be recognized if he can beat this man in the way that he's beating him right now.
So once again, that's a perfect example of how they try to distract you, like, from the actual truth. Mayweather beating Mosley all of a sudden isn't an accomplishment. He was past prime and washed up and hadn't been the same. Yet you heard on the telecast that he was the dude. They said if he beats Margarito and he stops him, he's the man, right? But now the fans try to switch and say something different. Same thing with Pacquiao. Mayweather beats him. Oh, it took too long. It happened too long. And now all these fighters are doing it. Like, if you don't condone something, then why would you follow another man's blueprint, right? Like, if, let's say Pacquiao saying the gays are worse than animals, and I'm like, man, he really attacked a demographic. That's messed up. That's messed up. Why would he say that? Why would he compare them to animals? And then on my channel, I get on here and said, man, you know what I'm sick of? I'm sick of these rainbow wearing motherfucking faggots, little fucking homosexuals, homo sapiens. Like, how can I, if I just condemn Pacquiao for it, why would I do the same thing? I wouldn't do the same thing, because I don't care. If you're gay and that's what you do, just keep it your way, and you know what I mean, don't disrespect me or disrespect my space. I don't have no problem with you, right? But I would never be hypocritical and do what I condemn someone else for. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I condemn Pacquiao for his remarks against gays, and then months later I'm doing the same thing. So you can't blame Mayweather for Canelo not fighting Triple G. Another example is this. Canelo, he's his own man. He's on the same network as Triple G. Pacquiao and Mayweather got to a point where one was on HBO, one was on Showtime, right? They were both, in their minds, they both felt they were the A side. Triple G knows he's not the A side. I mean, it shows. He doesn't even have any pay-per-view numbers to rival Canelo. So that hasn't even been the case. I haven't even seen Triple G says, oh, it has to say Golovkin Canelo because I'm the A side. I haven't seen him request A side demands, right? So we all know Canelo is the A side. Same network. Their promoters have no problem putting on fights together, working together, and yet this fight is still not happening. Completely different circumstance from Mayweather-Pacquiao. Mayweather-Pacquiao, Mayweather claims that Bob Arum owes him back money from Zab Judah fights and beyond, and never was paid up, right? That's not the case. We don't have Tom Loeffler or Golovkin saying, oh, I used to be signed to Golden Boy and they still owe me money, so fuck them. I'm not putting no money in their pocket. I'm not working with them. But those are all different dynamics. But again, the fact remains is if Canelo and boxing, and Oscar De La Hoya even wrote a Dear Floyd letter say, hey, stay retired. You don't deserve to be here. You were boring. All you did was cherry pick, stuff like that, right? If that's how De La Hoya felt, then why would they follow suit and not make the best fights possible, meaning like a Canelo Triple G fight? Why not have them fight? That's what the fans want. You saying Canelo wants it. It's a completely different circumstance. So, you know what I mean? I can't understand why people in the comment section and even Abner Modest now are making public videos blaming another man for two other grown-ass men. Neither Golovkin or Canelo are signed to Mayweather Promotions. So it's not like he's pulling the string with their careers. You know what I mean? Actually, in fact, Mayweather said he would love to sign Canelo, but that, as of right now, is not the case. So how can you blame him for them not fighting each other? You know what I'm saying? So to me, it sounds asinine that you would even attempt to blame another grown-ass man for not fighting another man based on this alleged blueprint from Floyd Mayweather. Another thing people fail to mention who have that sentiment or argument is Mayweather and Pacquiao, even if they never fought, which would have been a black eye on the sport because all the fans wanted it, they were definitely decorated and they have great resumes, period. It's it. They could retire and they both have good resumes, right? If Golovkin retired tomorrow, like he got some kind of injury, God forbid, he wouldn't have a great resume, period. That's it. You know what I mean? So you can't compare that. What Mayweather had did, what Pacquiao had did up until the point, you know what I mean? They needed to fight each other to make it right and do what's right for boxing, but they already had great resumes. Mayweather was already established. He's been in the sport a total of like 19 years. Canelo is not even much older than 19 years old. He's 26, you know what I mean? So he's only like 7 years older than Mayweather's been in the sport. So Mayweather's done things and set records and defied the odds and beat people he wasn't supposed to beat. Canelo, he's still 26. He's young. He started when he was 15. He's still paving his way. Golovkin, same thing. He's still looking for fights and some people are avoiding him, but bottom line is they're still paving their way. Canelo, his best win is most likely, I think it's unanimous, people would say Miguel Cotto. That's a guy that Pacquiao had already beat and stopped. That's a guy Floyd Mayweather already beat and it was competitive early and then Floyd pulled away, right? And that's Canelo's best win is Cotto, who had already lost to Trout, already lost to Floyd, already lost to Pacquiao and got stopped, right? So they're not even in the same league in terms of their actual resume and accomplishments. You know what I mean? That's Canelo's probably his best win. James Kirkland, who else? You know what I mean? Mosley, after Pacquiao and Mayweather again had beaten him. I mean, that's good names on your resume, but a fight like Golovkin would really set the tone. If Canelo at age 26 beats a Golovkin fair and square, knocks him out, gives a dominant performance, ends that knockout streak, you're the man. You run boxing. That's what it is. There's nothing that anyone's going to say. You're like, in terms of when I say run boxing, not necessarily pound for pound number one, because again, Golovkin, I don't know if his resume is there to say beating him would make you that, but it would be a huge statement for your career. You know what I mean? If you look at Canelo's wins, Trout, somewhat controversial to some. I didn't like the open scoring. He clearly got whooped by Floyd. The Lada could have went either way. Most people, being realistic, would tell you that. Then he beat Kirkland convincingly, knocked him out. Cotto, right? Golovkin is for all intents and purposes, he's a guy who's kind of in his prime, meaning no one's really, except for like Kell Brooks and Curtis Stevens, they've had selective success with him. So beating him means everything in the world. Same thing with Golovkin. Canelo's never been stopped. If Golovkin stops Canelo, a young, strong kid who's determined, and we haven't really even seen him hurt too much. He got hurt in the Jose Miguel Cotto fight, but we don't see him hurt often. He's never been knocked down that I can remember. I mean, you could have maybe said the Jose Miguel Cotto fight, he should have been ruled a knockdown because he fell into the ropes. But on his record, I don't think he's been knocked down or knocked out. Huge win for Golovkin. This is a great fight. That is what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense for the fans and Abner Mares, and I'm seeing it too much. It's a scapegoat. You can't blame, oh, they're just following the Mayweather blueprint. Another thing Abner Mares said, and I'm not just getting at him like that, I'm just being honest like I always do. Another thing Abner Mares said is, oh, it's about protecting the O. Canelo don't even have a O. That don't even make sense. Canelo has a loss that nobody disputes to Mayweather. And then he has a win that people do dispute against Erislandy Lara. And some even go as far as disputing the Trout. I think he beat Trout. I just didn't like the open scoring. But the Lara fight, I thought Lara won. So arguably, Canelo should have 2 losses, but we know for sure he has 1 loss. So what is fighting Golovkin is not protecting the O, because you don't have an O. Canelo doesn't have an O. You know what I'm saying? And then it really looks like Golovkin wants to fight. So he's not protecting his O. So what is, like, you know what I mean? What is Abner Mares talking about? Floyd set the tone, and I blame him because it's about protecting your O. Canelo doesn't have an O. He arguably shouldn't have a 1. He should have a 2. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that, you got to make it make sense to me, and it really doesn't. And I like I said, I know for a fact Floyd is not the thorn in boxing's backside that everyone tries to make him out to be. But even if you were to believe that, why don't you do something different? If you think Floyd ruined boxing, and he created this landscape of a businessman first, and he didn't really care about legacy, it was all about money, why wouldn't you change the tone? Do what Terrence Crawford is doing, fighting anybody and everybody. The Gamboa, that was his first title defense. Undefeated Olympic gold medalist Yuriorkis Gamboa at home. He could have got knocked, he got hurt. He could have got knocked out at home. Still took the challenge. The number 1 and 2 guys at 140, I covered that fight live. And he did his thing versus Victor Postol at 140. Third fight, or his 4th fight at 140, right? So there's a lot of guys doing right, you know what I mean, following the path. So even if you did feel that way about Mayweather, which is bullshit, but if you did feel that he was the one that was cherry picking and stuff, why don't you create a different tone, you know what I mean? Be someone a non-conformist, right? You look at hip hop. There's a lot of trash, like Lil Uzi Vert and like Lil Pistol Baby, Super Sort, whatever. I don't even know these guys' names, but I know they're whack. And you see guys like J. Cole, guys like that, who are Kendrick Lamar, they're being original. They're bringing lyrics back. They're talking about what they want to talk. If it's political issues, if it's a chick song, if it's about social matters, they don't care. If it's a hood song, they'll talk about what they want to talk about instead of conforming. So that's what I'm saying. Why in a world full of imposters and businessmen, why wouldn't Canelo and Triple G just fight and change the tone? Because you guys are probably the biggest stars in boxing right now since Floyd's retired. You know what I mean? More people probably talk about Canelo Triple G. I know for a fact more people talk about Canelo Triple G fighting than Jesse Vargas and Pacquiao. Period. You know what I mean? That's another fight people aren't happy with. So even if you did feel that Floyd was cherry picking and ruining boxing, why don't you be different? You know what I mean? I think it's a scapegoat to try to save face, to give Canelo, oh, he's just following someone else's lead. Don't follow someone else's lead. You know what I mean? I'm not going to complain about channels on YouTube and say, oh, look at people, they're using full fight in their titles. How pathetic. And then start using full fight in my titles. I don't give a shit. I don't care what people title their shit. It don't have nothing to do with my checks from YouTube, from Google. It don't have nothing to do with me. I don't care. That's me. I don't care what people do. But I'm not going to condemn people for doing like, oh, look at they're using this thumbnail, and then I start using the same type of thumbnail. You know what I'm saying? So if you felt Floyd was all of what was wrong with boxing, then why don't you create a new lead? You know what I mean? You're the face of boxing. Canelo Triple G, fans want it. It's never going to be what Mayweather and Pacquiao was, and I'm sick of the promoters and everybody who are coming up with excuses trying to milk this and make it last. You know what I mean? It just it is in a social media age. So you see fighters getting ridiculed on their social media page. Like I go to Canelo's page, and everywhere I turn, it's like chickens and fight Triple G and like name calling and stuff like that. Just fight. You'll get more credit for fighting him and losing, if that is what happens, than not making the fight, right? And if you beat him, you're clearly the man. What if Canelo stopped Triple G? So that's me, man. I'm a boxing fan. I want to see it. And you can't compare it to Mayweather-Pacquiao, first of all. And you can't blame Floyd for what people are doing, because you don't have the same ingredients. You know what I mean? If you don't have everybody wants to make the Colonel's special herb chicken recipe, but they don't have all the same ingredients. They're not doing the same things. Canelo, he's an A-side in today's boxing, yes. But he's not an A-side. That's why he wasn't the A-side over Mayweather, because he hadn't done what Mayweather had done, and he still hasn't done what Mayweather's done. So how can you blame Mayweather for Canelo not fighting Triple G? Again, it makes no sense. Mayweather and Pacquiao are Mayweather and Pacquiao. As you guys seen at the beginning, Sugar Ray Leonard said they're anomalies. No matter how old they are when they fight, it'll be a great fight because they'll both get up for it, and it'll be the best person. You know what I mean? So stop trying to make excuses. And it's funny too, because I see the fans actually make excuses for things that they said they were against when Floyd did it or Pacquiao did it, like catch weights. Pacquiao's done a lot. Floyd did a couple. I think Marquez, he made Marquez jump up 2 weight classes, right? And then what happened? He knocked him down and dominated. Look at Triple G versus Brook. That wasn't a domination. In fact, some people had Brook up at the stoppage, right? So similar situation. Canelo, he just drained Canelo 152. But some of those same fans are saying that Triple G, Canelo's A-side. If he wants to fight, he needs to come down to 155. He hasn't done shit. So why are you all of a sudden okay with it? So when Canelo was fighting at 154 and he was only 23 years old when it came to the Mayweather fight, even though Canelo, it's recorded on record, there's articles where he said, I'll fight Mayweather at 150. Mayweather fights him at 152, and they say, it's because he drained him, right? Canelo went from 154 to 152 at age 23, right? And some people had a problem with that. He made him drop another 2 pounds to drain him. But those same people are saying that Triple G should drop 5 pounds at age 34 to meet Canelo because Canelo's the A-side. You see how funny the double standards are and so blatant? Some people, they don't even try to burn their tracks and try to like get away with it or make it smooth. I guess they hope in time people forget the comments that they were putting previously. But it makes no sense. Them Pacquiao for fighting Cotto at at the catch weight, right? But then you don't condemn Canelo for wanting Triple G to come down 5 pounds to weaken him. You know what I mean? It's just, boxing is all screwy right now. And then on top of that, you have contradictions from Triple G side saying, we'll fight anyone from 154 to 168. And then you never see the 154 or 168 aspect of it. He just talks about the people who are ducking him at 160. You know what I mean? Stop finding excuses and scapegoats. You're your own man. You're not Mayweather. You're not Pacquiao. If y'all don't want to fight, then just let it be that. But I'm sick of people in the comment section seeing interviews and stuff where people are blaming Canelo for he follows Mayweather's blueprint. Why don't you follow some of the other stuff he did? Like when he moved up and fought Oscar De La Hoya, right, at 154, and gave Oscar all the options, all the glove size, ring size, bigger purse split, line share, and he was talking shit to Oscar De La Hoya like, Oscar, you a bitch. I'm gonna make you my bitch, and I'm gonna make you respect me. I'm gonna make you call me pretty, pussy. When he was talking that, why doesn't Canelo do that? Move up and fight Golovkin at 160. You don't want to bring that up. You know what I mean? Why doesn't Canelo do like Mayweather? If you want to pick and choose things from Mayweather that he's done, you know what I mean? Why don't you pick when he was moved up for Cotto, or even when he fought someone who was 23 years old, a power puncher, good boxer puncher, undefeated off the best win of his career, and that was Canelo, and that was after he beat Austin Trout. So why don't you do that? Why would you take the one thing you condemned him for and mimic that and include that into your blueprint? You know what I mean? Why don't you take when he did great feats, or when Pacquiao jumped up 2 weight classes to fight De La Hoya? You know what I'm saying? If you think you're Mayweather-Pacquiao, you can't just take what they did later in their career and certain decisions that were made and say, that's the version. Again, I said this before. People want to be the Money May but they don't want to go through the pretty boy stage. You know what I'm saying? You can't just pick and choose. Don't just pick the business decisions or latter part of these guys like Pacquiao and Mayweather's career and what they did. You know what I mean? Do some of the things Pacquiao was doing on his way up. You know what I mean? Blowing through top dogs, Marco Antonio Barrera, taking the Lidwaba fight with 2 weeks notice and beating the shit out of him, a champion, right? Do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Don't just pick and choose what veterans did later in their career. You know what I mean? So you can't blame Triple G and Canelo. Just need to fight, point blank, period. Egoveli, the resurrection. Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.
You don't feel it, then it must be too real to touch. You'll never in your life try to knock the truth. The illest shit ever. Get ready, cause this is about to get heavy.
Trying to keep me out, trying to censor what I say, cause they don't like what I'm talking about. So it's wrong with the media today.
Prove I'm lying if I ain't correct.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.